Well, hello. Welcome to IamJoshKnox.com, your number one resource for I Am Josh Knox material on the internet. Wanted to look at a issue that I had with you recently and a demonstration of Power Query. So the Dynamics 365 issue that I had was I wanted to make a report of matching activity names to projects. And it'd be nice if projects was just the project ID was a field on SMM activities, but it's a little bit more complicated than that. We go from the activity itself, and the name of the activity is on this SMM activities table. But then there are some intermediate tables. There's a hierarchy tree table, a hierarchy link table, and a proj table. Sorry, those hierarchy tables lead to the proj table. So there's sort of joins across those four different tables in order to just put activity names next to the project names. And one way that you could do this would be to download the data and do a bunch of VLOOKUPs and get there. But my friend Eric Frisk from Co-Optimize showed me how to use Power Query, and I thought that that was really cool. I think it's a powerful tool for data migration and for being able to sort of shape data in repeatable ways. So I wanted to show you how I went about this process. And so this is partially for you to get you excited about Power Query, maybe. And it's partially for me because I just want to do this again and remember how to do it. So this will be rough. I want to tell you that from the start. I haven't really practiced this too much or anything. I don't quite know where all the Power Query buttons are. I'm sure I'm going to get some joins wrong along the way. But if you're looking for a half hour to kill, stay tuned here. So the first step is getting that data out of Dynamics, and I just went to the SysTableBrowser and pulled it out of Dynamics. Right, obviously, if you're using a BI tool, that's sort of already being done in your BI tool. If you're using a BI tool, you probably already have some sort of report that lines up your activities and your projects. But right now, I'm just operating under that constraint. I don't have the report at hand. I just need to get that data and join those tables. So the way that I'm going to get that data out is I have a demo environment here that I've just stood up, and I'm going to use the table browser caller to access the systable browser for each of those fields. So the table browser caller gets set up here. Right, you put in the base URL for your Dynamics environment, and then right. So if I wanted a new one, I'd put a new one in and click save. But we already have the one configured. You'd select your legal entity, and then you'd need to you put in the table name you're looking for. So SMM activities. Let's get started. Press enter. SMM activities is going to come up. Right. This is the SysTableBrowser. The way that this Chrome extension works is that it just sort of uses the base URL and the name of the table and your legal entity to generate this URL string for you. So it's a handy feature if you use the table browser. Use the SysTableBrowser much if you need to look at what is the actual data in these tables. So I'm going to go about. I'm going to export this to Excel, download, and then I'm going to queue up the next one. The next table is hierarchy tree table. Hierarchy tree table. Enter. Get that going. I'm gonna press, come on. Do this export to Excel, download. It's gonna give me the hierarchy tree. Let's do the same thing with the hierarchy link. And finally, the proj table. Come on, office icon. There we go. So I've got my files. I'm going to open these guys up. Right, we've got activities. We've got a hierarchy tree. We've got the hierarchy associations. We've got our proj table, and I'm just going to combine them all into this this Excel workbook that I'm starting with. And I'm just going to use copy paste. Right, there are ways I could use Power Query to join to those those separate workbooks, but right, for this use case, I want this to be shareable and self-contained. So I'm going to put all those data sources into this single workbook on different sheets. And then if I wanted to, get a different export, I could, export the, a renewed, a revised activities list, and I could paste it into, sort of copy over my activities table inside my workbook. So let's call this activities. All right, drop the activities in there, and in Table Designer, I want to call this activities. Hit Enter. Let's even name this down here, activities. Hit Enter. And then I've got a hierarchy tree. Boom, do the same thing. Call this hierarchy tree. Enter. I'm going to name the sheet that as well. And let's go over to our hierarchy associations, also known as the hierarchy link table. Why two names? I don't know, but that's what it is. We'll call it hierarchy link here, though. And in data, enter, enter, and then we've got projects. Where's our proj table? Did I not grab it? Go back up to our downloads. Where's our friend? Open this file. Here's our projects. Control V. Okay, so I have my data sources in my table. Now what I need to do is connect them through Power Query. So I need to identify them as data sources, basically. So using this get data, get and transform data, you can get data from some other file, from some website, lots of ways that you can get data sources. What I want to do is add these all to Power Query. I'm going to say get from a table range, and I just want to load these into the, I don't know if it's appropriate to say the data model that I'm building, but I think that's, I need these to be data sources within Power Query. So I'm creating connections to these things. So I've got activities, hierarchy tree, hierarchy link, and projects. All right, so I've got the links here. Now I want to merge my data. So it's kind of like doing a VLOOKUP, but instead of actually manipulating the data, I'm just sort of, I think I'm loosely writing some code through the UI might be the right way to think about it. So I want to take activities, and I think it's the rec ID in activities lines up with the rec ID in the hierarchy tree, right? You can see that these are a match. Let's see, so it shows me the number of matches that I have, but we want all the activities from the first and then the links that go to them. Okay, so we've got that. So that creates our merge, or we can call this our output file maybe. And now I want to, again, I want to merge from my hierarchy tree to my hierarchy link tree. I'm doing this correctly. Let's see how we do that. Merge queries. So now we got to go to the this is, yep, from merge one, right, to the hierarchy link. And what field do we do that on, right? You can see that my merge one now has the rows from my my activity table plus the data from that hierarchy tree added on to the end of it. So let's see what do I need to, what should I be joining on? That's sort of the question that I don't know. How do we go from the hierarchy tree to the hierarchy link tree? There is a refrec ID. Is that what I need? Let's see, hierarchy link. Something starts with H. We've got a rec ID of 563. And this is refrec ID of 563. These are actually the same numbers. Oh, I see it, right? And we have hierarchy ID. So we're gonna march from the hierarchy tree to the hierarchy link tree using that joining on that hierarchy ID. So let me come in here, right? In our merge, we're gonna merge again. Is that what I want to be doing? So from our merge, let's go to the hierarchy link. And I want to take this on, where is hierarchy ID? I don't see it. Do I need to expose it? Let's see what's going on here. So I've said merge. Oh, and it just brings in this hierarchy tree. So I really only need this hierarchy ID. So having the hierarchy ID, I think I can then merge queries. How about that? Hierarchy ID to the hierarchy link. On that, boom. So now we've brought in the hierarchy link tree. And then we only need we need the refrec ID here. It's a lot of nulls. Maybe I'm wrong. But we want to merge again. Right, and it's key. This is the type of join we're doing, left outer, which means we're starting with our activity and we're joining to the project. So, right, we might have, in theory, some project that has no activities. That would not be a part of the merge that we are creating. Okay. So let's see, right? So now we've joined there, and I could take, let's say, project ID and project name. Boom. I am not so confident in this join. Let's look at our data again. We've got these hierarchy links. Got project data. And merge one, right? So this is the output file that we've come up with. Basically, well, I guess maybe there are some blanks. But there's a lot of, no, there's some data. I guess so if there was a blank, that would be an activity that's not associated with the project yet. Why don't we, I suppose that's possible if the activity hasn't been published yet. I'd just like to spot check this. How would I spot check this? Project ID, link refrec ID. I'll have to check that. But here's something that you can do with the merge that I liked. I guess one, we could rename it. So we could call this right, project or activities by project. And then we could basically, we have the ability to shape this. And so I could say, I don't really care about anything other than, let's say, the activity ID, the activity name, which happens to be the activity purpose, right? Let's find that. Purpose. So I could do shift, right? Select all of this and say, let's remove these columns. So now I've got the activity ID and the activity purpose. I can select everything else, right, other than the project name and the project ID, and say remove these columns. And then I could put the project ID first. I could filter this. Let's just filter for where the project exists. Right, so we've done that cleanup in this, I can then load this. So let's hit load and close. You can see that it runs my code and it should change everything. Let's see. I thought my output here would say activities by project. That's interesting that it doesn't. Let me delete this. Hopefully it doesn't delete everything. And then let's just rerun this. Where's the rerun button? Edit. Say close and load. Did I delete my data? Where did it go? Just try something out here. Where does that go? Activities, print project. Well, that's interesting. Why do I just have this query, but not cannot refresh connection, only query? Okay. Load to, upload it to a table. How about in a new worksheet? Okay. Oh, that's what I wanted. Let me edit, let me remove that row. Load again. There we go. So, right, all that work to get activity numbers with the activity names lined up with project IDs and project names. But what I like about this is that, if I was to do this in a bunch of I might do this in a bunch of VLOOKUPs and then go hide a bunch of columns to get rid of extraneous data, etc. Instead of having to do that, I do all that in the shaping of this query, right? So you can see the steps, right? I got that source data, I joined it to the hierarchy tree and then added, the hierarchy tree stuff. I merged to the hierarchy link, right? And you can see that I added that hierarchy link data so that I could merge the projects table. And then you can see, I removed these columns. I said, get rid of those things to clean this up. And I could even rename these, let's say activity number is fine, but let's say I wanted to call this activity name. I could say activity name, and let's say I wanted to say this was, we'll call it project number instead, so that it project number. And just to be consistent here, we'll call this rename project name. Oops, that's not the slash that I wanted. Right, you can see these steps. You can see the steps that I'm applying to transforming everything. So I can provide something that's nice and cleaned up. Right, close this and load it. It will update, right, with the header names, etc. But it's easy to track all the things that I did. So, instead of doing a VLOOKUP over here and hiding some columns and hiding some rows, or doing, or worse, deleting rows, when I use Power Query, I can do all these joins, or rather do merge multiple tables. Merging means basically adding columns to, across two different tables, or I can append two different tables, which is like adding rows across two different tables. Based on a common column. but you can do all this crafting and then have a record of what you're doing. And then if I wanted to update this later, uh, I guess the manual slow way to do this is I could just download the new activities file at some point, download the new versions of all these files, and then rerun my query, and all that transformation will already be done. I don't have to, let's say, start with an activities file and type the new VLOOKUP, etc. So that's my experience so far with Power Query. I'm a big fan. I think this has a lot of potential to really change the way we do data migration and shaping data. I think it's an incredibly powerful tool. It's really easy to use, right? Even someone like me who's not very technical, um, I don't know how to write these queries. I understand that this language up here is M, which is I'm going to say similar to SQL. Someone else can roast me in the comments over that one. But I think it's a really neat tool, and I would encourage you to try it out. All right. Thank you for your time.